Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Keith and welcome to a very special edition of My View from the 40. It is Grey Cup Wednesday. I know a lot of people are starting to descend upon Toronto. I will be heading down tomorrow, but I have a few things I need to do, and one of them is chatting with you right now. I wanted to take a moment to thank the men and the women who make up the CFL cheerleading community. Now, this is something that I do every year, and it's funny. Every time I sit down to do this blog, I look back at the year before. And it's funny because last year's, if you were to see me, I had this big beard. It's like I just got rescued from the Taliban or something. But no beard this year, but the sentiments are still the same. Now, nobody has asked me to do this. And quite frankly, nobody's asking me to stop either. But as a fan of this league, of which I've been since I was a little boy with a big afro, right up until now, I love the CFL. I can tell you that I love going to games, regardless of whether they're in Ottawa, Toronto, Montreal, BC, Hamilton, Calgary, Edmonton, everywhere. I love going to games. I love walking into the stadium. I love walking out onto the concourse and seeing the field. I love the coin toss, the kickoff, the return, the touchdowns, the interceptions. I love staying home on Friday nights and hanging out with the good people on TSN with Friday Night Football. I love every aspect of this game. And one aspect that I'm extremely passionate about are the cheerleaders. Now, I was never a cheerleader. You might not know that. Maybe you're thinking, oh, Keith used to tumble. Maybe Keith used to stunt. No, I didn't. But the reason that I'm passionate about the CFL cheerleaders is because I have a deep appreciation for what they do. Now, specifically, they do a lot. Now, you go to games and you see them come out and they do their routines and you think to yourself, okay, that was pretty cool. That pretty cool minute or so pretty much took hours of rehearsal for them to get to that point. They make it look easy because they work so hard in the background getting it done. But that's not really the thing that impresses me the most about the cheerleaders. The thing that impresses me the most is all of the wonderful work they do within our community, especially all of the work they do with kids. And that just touches my heart. I think about that little boy or little girl who's going to a football game and their eyes are just all a wonder. And they're walking out and they're seeing these larger-than-life athletes and they're seeing these cheerleaders who are probably like movie stars to them. And it's always interesting to me when I see a little kid interact with a cheerleader. And it's usually they stand behind their parent's leg and they peek out and they want to say hi. And then that cheerleader usually drops down and says, do you want to play with my pom-pom? Or if it's a guy, says, hey, do you want to learn a couple of moves with me? And that's something that kid's going to remember for the rest of their lives. The kid's not going to necessarily remember who won or lost the game, but their interaction with those cheerleaders is something that'll always be special to them. I can say that because I was that kid. I remember the first time my mother took me to a CFL event and I got to meet players and cheerleaders. I can remember it like it was yesterday. And it was just amazing to me. And I think here all of these years later, as a big kid, I still get starstruck. I remember seeing Milt Stegall for the first time and thinking, oh my God, this guy's a Hall of Famer. And I was an adult when this feeling took over. I'm a grown man working, paying taxes, but here comes another grown man. I'm like, it is such an honor to meet you. And I remember the first time I met Pinball Clemens, how amazing it was. Here's a guy who was just like redefined leadership. And for a lot of people, that is basically how they feel when they meet the cheerleaders. And when I met the cheerleaders, the first time I remember seeing the cheerleaders perform when they were doing what I would later understand as stunting, at the time I thought it was called flipping, I remember thinking to myself, just how amazing is this? A lot of people look in the stands and say, oh, I could do that. Respectfully, no, a lot of us know you can't. It looks a lot easier than it is. But it isn't about whether or not you could do it. It's whether about you could make the commitment that they have to give up so much of their time to perfecting this craft and helping our community. You know, it's so interesting because I talk to people who are casual football fans, but they love the cheerleaders because they say, oh, I might have had these cheerleaders come to our school or come to this event. And again, that leaves a long-lasting impression. So this is a group that I think can go unappreciated, or we can just take them for granted. But I don't think we should. So if you're going to Toronto this weekend for the Grey Cup, take a moment when you see a cheerleader, regardless of whether or not they're a part of the cheerleading team that you support, but go out and say hi. Go out and get a picture with them. And mostly go out and buy a calendar from them, because that's how they fund getting to the Grey Cup. It is, I think, our duty as CFL fans to do everything that we can to support this group. And again, I don't care what team you support. At the end of the day, we are all CFL fans, and I think it's just a matter of supporting all of the hard work that they do day in and day out. And I just want you all to know, any cheerleader who might be looking at this, from the bottom of my heart, I thank you so much for everything that you've done to just help better the game and better the league that I love so much. Because I love having you there, and it wouldn't be the same without you. As always, you can reach out to me on Twitter, CFL_fan, Facebook.com/WhittyWhittier, and WhittyWhittier.com. Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Keith. Thank you so much for checking this out. That's my view from the 40.